What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to talk about preparation. What can we do on Sundays? What can we do on the weekends that's going to prepare us for the rest of the week? Everybody knows Sunday scaries. What are Sunday scaries? It's when you dread the week, is when you have something coming up and you don't want to, even think about that thing coming up because you're like, I have so many things to deal with and so many things to work on that I don't even want to get to that point, to that event. You're dreading this, whether it's work related, it's a family event, it's a school situation, something for the kids, something for the dogs, or whatever it might be. You have this thing that you feel unprepared for. And I want to bring this topic up because just how I talk with athletes about being prepared for the game, I think that these little commonalities can be intertwined and they can both go in hand. So I wanted to talk about how can we work away from that. So being prepared really is knowing where you're going and knowing what you're going to do. There's those two things, right? You need to identify what you're going to do and where you're going. Those two things eliminates a lot of the clutter that we have in our heads. I want to say by, sometimes you go to work, whether you're in a job position right now that you love your job. Just like me, I love what I do. I wouldn't want to do anything else, but because I love what I do, sometimes I can get wrapped up in it. I'm very passionate about it, and next thing you know, the weekend is here and we start again. And I'm not the only one that goes through this. Everybody goes through this, but you might not be in a position where you love your job. And that's something need to identify: is do I want to go to that place that I'm going to go to? You have to recognize these things because no one's gonna tell you that you're not having a good time there. And a lot of times we feel complacent at these places because we don't feel like there's growth. And that's what makes us uncomfortable in those situations because we're like, if we don't feel like there's potential to grow, we're going to get comfortable. And if you're someone that doesn't like comfort and you're always seeking that growth factor, you take these things into consideration. So it's not that you're dreading necessarily the field that you're in or dreading the job, is that you dread where you're at. And, it might be coworkers, it might be the energy, it might be the drive. Knowing that you live in this area where it's very populated, you're going to have a lot of people driving at the same place. So, how do you avoid the drive headache? Being prepared, maybe waking up a little bit earlier, right? So, it's all these things that go into being prepared. So, I want to just kind of note some things that I feel like are important. For me, one of my favorite things to do is really being prepared for the week goes from a point that I organize myself on an agenda. I use this, I set myself up, I know where I'm going to do, I know what things I need to plan for, and I know how I'm going to attack the week. Another thing I like to do is giving myself um, daily motivations or daily sayings that are allowing me to stay stay on track, right? I like to post things because I know that when I post them on IG, is I get good feedback from it, and just like you guys watch these videos and you're like, oh, I do like that he said this and that. I say these things because I live by them, right? So I might say live your truth. I mean that. I mean really live your truth. If you're a trainer, if you're a coach, you should be coaching, but you should be practicing what you preach. And that's how I believe in. This is a method that I carry on, a theory, a practice that I practice. It's something that makes everything come together for me. At least I would say you got to know what workouts you're doing on the weekends. Maybe you're not working out on the weekends, and that's because they're one of the reasons why you feel so fatigued Monday or Tuesday. You feel like, dude, I just can't get my week started. See, I'm one of those people where I like active recovery. I'm a big fan of active recovery. I always want to do something on the weekends, whether it's mobility based, yoga, a light run, some core, or maybe it's Saturday and I'm feeling good and I'm knowing I'm probably gonna eat something heavier that day. I know I'm going to give it a nice little conditioning session plus a strength session just to complement whatever I'm going to eat that day. So that way I'm not here feeling guilty of what I'm going to eat. I can live at peace because of it. So those are two train of thoughts, right? I do like doing that. Um, Grocery shopping. I think this is, you know, people talk about meal prep and meal planning, and yes, this is all true. You have those that like to cook on the weekends, Sundays, and I know clients of mine that do this. I know people that do this and have great results because of it, and it definitely does work. But it has to be something you're consistent at. Anything you're consistent at is going to work. So the consistency in preparing for the week is going to give you results. But also, what I like to do, and you have to know what your body type is, and you got to know what works for you. What I personally like to do, I like to make sure that I cut up all the vegetables that I'm going to use that week. Anything that I'm going to cook, whether it's meat, steak, eggs, whatever it is, it's already there. It's already prepared for me to just throw on the grill or just me put on the stove. All I have to do is pick and grab. That way I don't. If you're gonna defrost food, you can just get it out the freezer, put it there. By the time you get home, in the fridge is already defrosted. Simple things like that, where it's like, all right, open, go, cook, and go. I personally like my food to be fresh, so I'm not a big meal planner in that sense of like planning my meals out. But luckily for me, I'm able to prepare in that sense. And so when I get to cooking, it feels fresh for me, and that's my personal preference. But those that do meal prep because they can't go back home and they don't have anything else that they can eat around that's going to be relatively healthy, I think that's a great option. It's something that's very smart to do, and it's going to avoid you the fatigue and feeling real heavy later on. And those are things that you probably don't think about, but if you're eating heavy foods for lunch, it's going to drown you out. You're going to feel a little bit tired going back to work. So those are things you need to put into consideration, especially on that long drive back home. If you're dealing with traffic 30 to 45 minutes, you're dealing with that, and you don't want to you don't want to run into those situations. um Essentially everything comes back to being organized. um but things like laundry, I know it sounds, I feel like I'm saying things from like a parent's perspective, but it's really just being prepared. It's like all this preparation things, all I'm talking about is being prepared. um Laundry is something you might not think about, but for example, if you do jujitsu, right, you have to clean your gi. You have to make sure your gi is ready to go. That's something that you want to be prepared for. So you clean your jujitsu gi. That way, when it's time to go practice, you go do that. That's something I practice. I like to make sure that everything's organized. So all I have to do is grab and go. It's just like your workout clothes. If you're leaving your workout clothes there and you're not preparing to use the workout clothes you're going to use, maybe you need another set of clothes to allow you to prepare more prepared for the week. I mean, guys, there's so many excuses that come to why you don't train that if you allow them to pile up, excuses could be like laundry, right? Um, I like this one. Setting a playlist, either to work or from work, can make things a lot more easy. And I say that this gives you a more of a, there might be an album dropping that you're like, or I want to get into this new kind of music. Let me listen to this on my way to work. It's exploring those factors, but also knowing that like you have something to look forward to. I don't think that we should live in this box where it's like every corner is cornering you in. You should really venture out and see how you can maximize all these little intangible things that you have in your life, whether it's music or whether it's, like they talk about, being at flow, and they talk about allowing yourself to just coast through things, but also really feel the presence of that, of being in that moment. And a lot of times we don't feel that because we're always constantly thinking ahead. We don't enjoy the car ride to work. Think about that. You're not enjoying that. Why don't you call somebody, right? If you like to call, you don't have those conversations with everyone, but if you can really go and talk to someone you're close to on the way to work, that can help. If they're on the way to work too, you're having a conversation on the way to work. or maybe you like the silence of it and you like to really, just listen to what your body's telling you. That's also a great way just to kind of take insight from that. Um, I think that one of the things that people don't really take in consideration is your sleep. I sleep is something that you can, and I'm gonna dedicate an episode just to sleep. But there's a lot of people that talk about sleep. Dr. Huberman talks about sleep. But there's also Sean Stevenson. Sean Stevenson, if you ever gets to see this, he's the reason why I actually got into podcasts. I started listening to Sean Stevenson back like in 2013, 2015. He wrote a book called Sleep Better, and it talks about how from a molecular level what sleep does to the brain, and to the cellular level of our body tissue. What does it do to us when we lack sleep? Because you can't make up sleep, right? You can't take you can't wake up, take a nap again, and then make up those 8 hours. No, that's a new beginning now, right? What does REM stand for? Rapid eye movement, right? So when you see your dog twitching his eyes like that, that's when you're in your deepest sleep. And if you're not allowing your body to get to REM or spend enough time in REM, you will deal with the consequences of feeling groggy, feeling a little bit tired, feeling all these things. So it definitely gets you. So if we're talking on the topic of sleep, the routines that you're doing on Sunday, preparing for the week, meaning that if I want to say that Game of Thrones used to be on Sunday night, right? I'm not sure. I want to say it was, and if it was, that's probably why I'd never seen Game of Thrones. So don't get crazy on me for not seeing it. But probably because it was something on Sunday night. Sunday night football. I'm not watching it. I'll probably watch the first quarter and I'm going to sleep. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'll wake up the next morning and I feel tired. I rather feel like my battery's charged. That's like you guys waking up and your phone is only 60% charged. Now you have no charger. You're not gonna feel like the best. You're gonna be anxious about your phone all day. The same thing with your body. Treat your body like you treat your phone. You always want it to have full battery. Do your body the same. Um, Sleep definitely has to do something with coffee as well. If you guys are avid coffee drinkers like me, I love having coffee. But having coffee at night might be something that works against you. Drinking alcohol at night on Sundays, or you day drink the day before or on Sunday, and you're not really hydrating, you're going to be dehydrated, which causes you to feel like you're not sleeping well and actually disturbs your sleep, believe it or not. Um, all these things are being prepared for the week, guys. And, I think from a wellness standpoint and a mental standpoint, sometimes you might not correlate all these things, but all these little factors, nutrition, how you're preparing. Are you organizing your foods? Are you prepping for the week? Are you having your supplements? Are you having, adequate rest time? Are you going to the grocery store on the weekends? All these things play a factor. And then you get into the week and you feel like you're still backed up. You're going to start dealing with a lot of anxiety. You're going to start dealing with a lot of emotions that can really be prevented, and from the standpoint of like just being prepared. Like, you being unprepared puts you in a disadvantage always, whether it's you preparing for the week, preparing for your job, preparing for a big event. Is learning how to stay prepared. If you stay prepared, you don't ever have to get ready because you're always ready. And I think this is a mindset. This is something that I feel men and women should have. We should all practice this, being ready. And it's good to give yourself these goals and these tasks to always stay motivated. And you want to stay motivated, make sure you stay ready for something. That's why it's good that you have something that challenges you. You say, I'm going to go run 3 miles this week. I'm going to go run 5 miles this week. Or by the end of the week, I want to have done 5 miles. Whether I can't run that much, but I'm going to do a mile a day. By the end of the week, you've accumulated 5 miles. It gets to a point where you're able to do way more than that, and you're past that threshold. But it never starts if you're unprepared. You have to be prepared. There's people that prepare more than others. There's Uh, People are very militant about certain things, right? There's people that walk out the house and their bed is nice and neat. So when they come back, it's nice and neat. You don't have to be that person. I'm not gonna impose something on you that I don't do. But what I would say is being prepared in other sense, being prepared mentally, being prepared physically is going to help you out with everything you do throughout the week. I really wanted to spend this episode talking about this because I feel like this is how you own your time. This is really how you set yourself up for success, and you really say like, I'm not gonna let someone else take ownership of my time. No, you have the ownership of your time, and no one can really put you at a disadvantage unless you put yourself at a disadvantage, because then they take the advantage. They have the upper hand. They have the advantage in that situation because you came unprepared. A lot of times, even guys, if even if it came to a job listing, you know, I'm always saying this because I don't know exactly the crowd I'm talking to and who's listening, but I think about possibilities for growth. I don't just say like, "Oh, I got this job and I'm good." No, there could be another big opportunity. There's maybe if you're I'm talking to my fighters, there might be a bigger fight, but if you don't prepare for this fight right now, it doesn't that bigger fight doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what stage that fight is. You got to prepare really well and handle the smaller fight and treat that like the big fight. So when you get to the big fight, that feels like nothing. That feels like butter because you've been there before, because you prepared like it. And that's what I'm talking about. I feel like anybody can adapt this kind of mindset and really take it to heart and allow it to change the narrative of a lot of things that go on in their lives. Sometimes it's easy to point fingers and say, "Oh, I wasn't successful because of this, and this person didn't. Um, you know, I wasn't hired here, or I didn't get that house, and I didn't." No, it all goes down to you. And you got to take accountability of your time. You got to take accountability of what you got going on. And maybe you don't want to hear that, and maybe you don't want to, you know, really put yourself in that mind space of like, yeah, you know what, you're right. But it always goes down to you. You know if you're right or wrong. Whether the decision is right, whether the decision is wrong, your decision is right. But you have to deal with those consequences. Guys, I wanted to give you something positive to listen to because it's Sunday. Sunday Scaries is a thing. I've heard it. I felt it. I've been there. But I don't like to be in that situation. I like to, you know, really put this kind of perspective out there so that way when I'm speaking to someone and someone ever brings it up and I hear how other people get prepared for the week, really gets me excited because it really makes me feel like there's people that are focused and have a drive out there. And I'm not the only one thinking like this. Guys, I appreciate you. Please share these kind of videos. I'm going to make reels soon with this. Please like, share, subscribe. I'm trying to get my followers up on YouTube, on Instagram. If you want to put my followers up there, cool. But really on YouTube is really what I'm trying to grow this platform that we have, because it really helps out in the later run. I think that you guys are seeing these kind of episodes now. Later on, I'll be able to be in different platforms, but it starts with the small fight. This is my small fight right now. This is what I'm preparing. I'm preparing really well now. So when I get to that bigger stage, it doesn't feel like, I've never been there because I prepare now. So, guys, peace. Thank you.